Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my, please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget about peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Tyreek Hill. For the audio audience, I am just shaking my head sadly side to side. I believe it to be the best commentary. I mean, I could yell and scream.
Nah, shaking your head is fine.
I'm generally not. This is weird for a columnist and certainly someone who does this. I'm generally not raining down judgment on human beings. But why is it always you, Tyreek? Like, this league has eradicated its perception problem when it comes to some of this stuff, Stugotz. Like,
yes.
The stuff that Roger Goodell did, he had a league that was out of control. Adam Silver's got a different problem right now. Sports thriving everywhere, and all of a sudden the tide has turned against Adam Silver, where they're blaming him for things like the shot clock not working at the end of Lakers-Warriors and it taking 20 minutes to play 15 seconds. He's got a different set of problems. Roger Goodell once, and it was one of his greatest problems, I would say, had a perception problem in his league that his violent players couldn't stay violent just between the lines, and that they had domestic abuse problems and crime problems and everything else. And it's just not associated with the NFL the same way anymore. They don't get arrested at that rate or something disproportionate to the American populace anymore. And Tyreek Hill is still out here, Stugotz. And you're just waiting for what's going to be the next one. I'd never even heard of a post-nuptial agreement. That's when you don't do the prenup correctly, and then you decide afterwards, I got a lot of money and I need to do a post-nuptial one. I didn't know that was a thing. Did you know it was a thing? Did anyone here know that post-nuptial agreement was a thing?
I had no idea. I mean, it seems like if you don't agree to stuff on the front end, then there's no agreement in place.
I mean, it is something I have not. Tyreek Hill has taught
hindsight,
me. He has taught me this. Anyway, there is football to get to that's not off the field. I know Jessica's got opinions about a trade between two of her many favorite teams. I know Lucy's enraged because she doesn't like Iowa's path. And I'm genuinely torn here, Stugotz. Do you start on this Monday? Billy, let me go to Dookie here, internationally famous football insider. Do you start with Aaron Donald and Justin Fields and the Pittsburgh quarterback room, or do you start with college basketball, both tournaments, our March Sadness tournament? We generally don't care very much around here for 20 years about college basketball except to do our tournament. Where do you start today?
I would not start with Aaron Donald. He retired at the end. And then we're good. Yeah, we've checked off the Aaron Donald
He
box,
retired. He was great. 5 years from now, he'll be in Canton.
Yeah.
We're done with Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
That's it.
Really?
I mean, he's great. He's one of the all-time greats. What else?
I mean, I've got some scouting reports on him coming out of college that suggest no one knows shit about who's going to be good.
I feel like we spent a week when Nick Saban retired just doing the same thing.
I really.
It wasn't March, though.
I hate to ask Billy's opinion and then immediately reject it, but it's what I'm going to do.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm always lamenting around here. Why is it so hard to just be positive in content? Why does it have to be blame and division? How do you talk about the greatness of someone who has no precedent? This man made the Pro Bowl 10 years. Only Barry Sanders did that. Played 10 years, made it every one of his years. He did something at the position I did not think was humanly possible. He had 20 sacks in a season from the middle of your offense. Through the middle of double teams all season, had 20 sacks at that position. Revolutionized strength and speed at that position. Has no precedent As a football player, you can make a legitimate argument, given the value of what he did, getting sacks and pressure from that position, caving in your entire offensive game plan. You can make an argument for him as best defensive player ever.
You can. It's Lawrence Taylor and then Reggie White. But I understand, listen, he's great. 10 years, 10 Pro Bowls, 3 defensive MVPs. He's one of 3 players to do that. I believe J.J. Watt was one of the others.
Player of the year, yeah.
He's going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer. He deserves to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer. He is not the best defensive player ever in the NFL. Okay, that's fine.
And you can argue that if you like. I would argue today, bigger, stronger, faster, always. Like Aaron Donald, we don't have to do this. It's fine. Top 5, top 10. I will tell you, Kyler Murray announced that when the retirement's announced, he just tweets, "Thank God." And Geno Smith, one of the best audio bites from last season, Aaron Donald comes in unblocked up the middle. You just hear him wired for sound shout, "Oh my God!" Like that. I don't know why you guys would just skip past that kind of greatness and be like, retired. That's it. It's done. That's the celebration he deserves. Let me go back to complaining about my bracket.
It's March. I do find it interesting, though, that he decided to retire after just 10 seasons, where guys are trying to maximize how much money they make in the NFL. He decided, I've made enough. I have a future. I don't want my body to hurt the way I see some other people's bodies hurt later in life. I do find that part interesting. He had 5 years left in him, Dan.
I don't know, though, that his body's going to feel any better.
Okay.
What he did.
Got a better chance, I think.
Yeah, of course. Okay. But what he did for a living, totally insane.
Yes.
Being in the middle of all of that, being stronger than everybody in the middle of that particular frenzy, his body's going to be in a great deal of pain for the rest of his life, I would assume.
Yes.
As will the people he played against, because he inflicted a substantive amount of damage. We will get to the quarterback room of the Pittsburgh Steelers because the Steelers are run by Stugotz.
They have all the quarterbacks.
Just get me names. And everyone agrees. You never get this kind of consensus, Stugotz, on the following. If I just tell you Pickett, Trubisky, Rudolph, and I say Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and cheap, consensus throughout all of sports opinion is way to go, Pittsburgh. However, there are only 2 quarterbacks who have lost that much the last 2 years. It's those 2.
Yep.
And there are only 2 quarterbacks who have a combination of 100 interceptions and sacks in the last 2 years. And it's those 2.
Right.
They were available for very good reasons. And I know we love all of us.
Everyone.
Everyone listening to this would say, I'd take a flyer on Justin Fields. Get him on my team for nothing because I want an electrical cord in my backfield.
I think what's been underestimated the last couple months is how little leverage the Bears had once it became pretty obvious that they were going to pick Caleb Williams first overall, and also how I think in denial a lot of Bears fans were that would be the case, because I think Bears fans really like Justin Fields and felt bad for Justin Fields and wanted them to do good by Justin Fields. And so a lot of things kind of came together this weekend where Bears fans are mad, but also excited, but they're not happy, and they feel like they got fleeced. And Steelers fans are like, well, this is better, I guess. Sure, why not?
Well,
but what do I do with my Kenny Pickett jersey?
You're a fan of both teams. How do you feel? I'm jealous, by the way.
Yeah, I feel like the Bears shouldn't be allowed to draft quarterbacks anymore.
So to that point, because Jay Cutler is the best quarterback in Bears history, and frustrated Bears fan who learned about this drinking way too much on St. Patrick's Day.
Sid Luckman?
They 100% waited until every person in the city of Chicago was hammered on St. Patrick's Day.
But the thing to me that was stunning about this, Stugotz, because I really am on Justin Fields, okay? You've heard me talk a lot about how crazy I think it is that all of these people are analyzing football and they still can't tell you how someone's going to be good. Because Aaron Donald, I'm going to read what the weaknesses were, Stugotz. This is Next Gen Stats scouting report when he came out of school.
Okay, so this is coming out of college into the NFL.
They're saying he's a special teams guy, that he's a backup. Marginal height and frame is nearly maxed out. Hands are more active than strong, could play with more pop and power. Overpowered in the run game and ground up by double teams. Gets snared and controlled by bigger, longer blockers. Not a 2-gap player. Has some tweener traits. Lacks ideal length and bend to play outside. I just heard Mel Kiper 2 months ago tell me that Atlanta would give up their number 8. Atlanta would give up number 8 first round. Stugotz, can you play with your computer when it's quiet, please?
I forgot to turn the volume down. I'm sorry. It's March, Dan.
It happens. Yeah, it's March. This is all well and good, but I think the question is McNeese, James Madison, Grand Canyon, or UAB. Which is the 12 that's going to upset the 5? You know what I mean? That's what today's about.
Is that what today's about?
I mean, yesterday was Selection Sunday, but today's Selection Monday. You know what I mean?
Well, how about Florida Gulf Coast and Oklahoma, though, in the women's bracket?
That's,
Lucy,
the conversation worth having, I think.
Good point, Billy. Well done. Lucy, your thoughts on I thought you were telling me that for sure that your family was in agreement that the entire bracket would be lubricated so Caitlin Clark could get the easiest possible path to wonderful things so that everyone could make tons of money and ratings. I thought this was guaranteed and assured. Have the women fallen behind the men in inability to rig a bracket correctly?
First, nothing was lubricated. Let's use a different word than that. Yesterday, I called my little brother, and we're talking about the women's bracket. Which one? How cool is that? We didn't even talk about the men's bracket. Only talked about the women's bracket. And he was like, don't worry, Lucy. Like, we knew Iowa was going to get a 1 seed. We're like, it will be the easier path because the NCAA, ESPN, everyone benefits from Caitlin Clark getting back to the Final Four. So I'm sitting there, Selection Sunday. I'm so excited. I know that there's going to be a 1 next to my Iowa Hawkeyes name. They call 1, and I'm like, yes, let's go. And they're like, also, you got Princeton. I said, ooh, okay, don't love that. And you got Drake, don't love that. And you got Colorado, hate that. And you got LSU, defending national champion that beat you last year. Okay, that's fine. Kansas State, a team that beat Iowa this year. All right, that's cool. UCLA, all in the same bracket. All in the same bracket that Caitlin Clark is in.
Death bracket for her.
Death bracket. Well, no. I believe in her. She can make it through. If Iowa wins the national championship, they deserve it. But it made me so angry. And Rebecca Lobo, a queen, said on the broadcast, Iowa deserved the 2nd seed. They were the number 2 overall seed, so they earned the 2nd easiest bracket. But they did not get that because with seeding and all this stuff and the Pac-12.
The S curve.
I hate the S curve. And when they brought the lady from the committee on, oh my God, I hate her. I don't like her at all. I feel robbed. Except for, I still have a lot of faith. I think we can win the national championship. I'm just feeling it. I'm just not feeling my best right now.
I've never seen this side of you. Have you guys seen her this kind of unhinged?
We didn't deserve this, Dan.
Listen.
We deserved easier than this.
Jessica, this is where I haven't seen this part of her. You have to understand, every time she's reporting about some latest Caitlin Clark thing, it's the most amazing feeling she's ever had. And now she's headed into a bracket of death. She's a ratings monster. That sport, like we have seen this. Look, Lucy's saying she can't believe she's talking to her brother about this. We're headed into a women's tournament that's more interesting than the men's for a lot of different reasons. Like there has been a seismic sort of sea change in the way people are enjoying the women playing basketball. And you have to get Caitlin Clark to that final. You cannot have her eliminated early. We do not want a March Sadness situation where she's getting knocked out early by a 15 seed because we got to get.
No,
They're trying to
put that out there.
Lucy, I'm sorry. They're trying to set up Iowa and LSU, and everyone wants to see that game. I want to see that game. They're trying to guarantee you see that game.
They're not doing that, though, because LSU and UCLA will meet before they would play Iowa, and most likely UCLA will beat LSU and we won't get that rematch. It all has to do with the stupid Pac-12 and their dumb seeding, and honestly, I'm kind of glad that conference is over with after this.
Well, that's
Lucy Rodine, Iowa correspondent.
Chris, you want to tell Jessica you're going to play that before you play
heads up
it?
would have been nice.
Yeah, I mean, she's right in the room with you.
That was one of my takeaways and my top 5 takeaways from the women's March Madness bracket, actually.
You have 5 of them.
I do have 5 of them.
All right, we're going to
Can we
get to those.
fanfare?
Let's get to those. Yes, let's
Chris,
get.
that's me giving you a heads up.
Yes, that is what you do for your teammates. I don't want to just leave right now, though. I know she can be someone who gets emotional and hyperventilates when moved by the energies of college football. But her outraged in defense of
Women are emotional.
her queen, not Rebecca Lobo, Caitlin Clark is as excited as I've seen Lucy. You don't understand. Iowa does not get athletic echoing greatness.
Sounds like Caitlin Clark.
Have you watched
scared.
her punter? You don't know what you're talking about.
Not since Hayden Fry. You're right, Dan.
Are we scared for Caitlin Clark that she can't do it? Like, I don't understand. Isn't
I'm
she the
not.
best ever? It sounds like
Right.
we're scared.
I agree, Billy. And Lucy, you know that I love you so much.
Oh, I gotta leave.
There's more teams in women's basketball than Iowa and LSU. This is
Thank
not
you.
just for Lucy. This is
Thank
for everyone
you.
else. There are some
Thank you.
great matchups.
Let's talk about Notre Dame.
Let's, Jessica.
Thank you.
Here we go.
A 2 seed.
Jessica's
Hannah
top.
Hidalgo, know her name.
Jessica's top 5 observations from last night's most important bracket. Let's go with number 5 or OLI.
OLI, Miami, not in. What happened to our precious, beautiful blue bloods? Not in the men's or the women's tournament.
I'm going to talk to Mike Ryan about this tomorrow, but Mike Ryan believes that the men's basketball team simply quit. He's made that allegation
Really?
privately, so we'll see if that is something he's willing to do publicly, even though I just did it for him. Also, OLI.
No, we're on 5 now.
Okay.
Okay. Southern Cal and South Carolina could play 1 seed versus 1 seed in the national championship. The battle for who gets to be USC.
Wow. Couple of USCs cutting it up.
That's number 5.
A lot on the line for Southern Cal.
That is that, and I think we'd be willing to do that conclusively, would we not?
I'm for it.
Are you willing to give the USC to the winner of South Carolina, Southern California?
Number 4, the Pac-12. Really good women's basketball conference. Shame we blew that
Your timing's not working very well, Jessica, with Chris Cody. Let's
We're
get
not on
Chris
the same
Cody in
page
line.
today. We'll get there.
Number 3.
up. Nebraska and Texas A&M playing against each other in the men's and the women's bracket after Nebraska's athletic director was just hired by Texas A&M. The battle of the college admins.
Wow.
Good bit, Dan.
Did
Thank
you just shake me off? Did you just?
You were a catcher giving me
you
signals.
shook
I'm the pitcher.
me off. You shook me off.
Slower's better.
I wanted you to clip her.
Slow report.
And you decided to wait that time.
He wanted a different pitch.
It worked,
He
honestly.
shook me off. Number 2.
UConn is not. UConn is going to Portland. They're not playing in their home region, which they always get to play home games in Stores and then Albany or wherever in like the East Coast. But no, they're shipping them out west. UConn playing out west. Crazy.
And number 1.
The Columbia women's basketball team, first time they're going dancing. We have a video of them reacting. It was so fun to watch. Lucy and I were both emotional watching this clip.
There's a guy just sitting on the floor.
This is one of those videos where you watch it a few times and focus on one person, and they're all freaking out.
What about the guy who got trampled on the floor sobbing? What about that? What happened
He's
to
one
him?
of my faves. If we could do a top 5 favorite reaction. No, I'm just kidding. They're crying. Dan, it's the most wonderful time of the year other than bowl season.
We will do some testing of Stugotz here over the next 3.5 hours. He is a proud fraud this time of year. We will have Seth
All
Davis.
times of year.
Seth Davis is going to join us. He knows what he's talking about, and we will see. Okay. Well, all right. We'll do that. We have a lot of fun to make of Amin as well because the internet got a hold of him in a jump shot that echoes in sadness in a way that will allow us to mock him all show today. But I simply wanted to circle back on what it is we were talking about before on Justin Fields because Stugotz, I don't know that I have had an example, even understanding that football has gotten very sophisticated on how they can measure everything. It happened kind of fast, and it happened at quarterback as well in a way that changes the finances at running back. And I just haven't seen a lot of quarterbacks like Justin Fields ever. And I'm confused that Lamar Jackson seems to have redefined the position when some executives in the league, his executive, like Peyton Manning, MVP executive, once told you that couldn't play quarterback. And now I'm watching, and I watch. The Bears are erratic. You cannot turn the ball over anymore, Stugotz. Like, that's not what quarterbacks do anymore. You're not allowed to do it. You can't be reckless. So this is one of the best running quarterbacks we've ever seen.
No doubt.
Runs past secondaries. Obviously has a skill level talent. Accuracy not quite as strong as some others, but has a skill level arm talent that made the Bears trade up for first round picks, second round picks because they wanted to get to number 11 because they wanted 3 years of this guy, where they win nothing. And now I'm confused because I'm looking at it and I'm like, wait a minute. Not only did Justin Fields just become a backup, that just happened, but the trade market seems to indicate that nobody could use that. Now, I don't trust Atlanta, Stugotz, because Atlanta told me they didn't need Lamar Jackson.
Right.
So now they say Kirk Cousins is the answer, but I can't separate what I just saw in Minnesota. I thought that was Justin Jefferson. I thought that whatever happened with Kirk Cousins was made a lot easier by Justin Jefferson, but now Atlanta's telling me they didn't need Lamar Jackson at all. What they need is Kirk Cousins, someone who looks and plays like Kirk Cousins. And I'm like, the position, is it changing or is it not? Is it going to be allowed to change or is it not? And my evaluation gets confused, Stugotz, when Mel Kiper was saying on television 2 months ago that Atlanta would give up an 8 for Justin Fields. And then they tell us, no, it's going to be easier to trade for Kenny Pickett. It's going to cost you more to trade for Kenny Pickett than it is for Justin Fields. And I'm like, I can't evaluate this position anymore because I think Justin Fields can play quarterback as a starter in this league.
I honestly think that it came down to everyone knowing that the Bears were going to get rid of him. And so, like, a bunch of teams called their bluff. They knew they were going to get desperate and end up giving him away for way less than they wanted a couple months ago. And that's all it came down. I don't think the market's telling you Kenny Pickett's a better backup quarterback than Justin Fields.
But the market did dry up on Justin Fields. Dan is right. Like, the Bears went into this thinking
because we were asking a lot, and everyone knew eventually you're just going to get rid of him for whatever you get.
But does the audience have the same reaction? Like, I'm copping to here, something that it's uncomfortable to cop to, because very often in this business, we like to think we know, and some of the loudest among us act like we know when we really don't know, when we don't know anything. But in this particular case, I've been following how the market tracks on business at the position. We all have been, right? Because we're now obsessed with the finances of this. So how much guaranteed money did this person? What do you mean? The Titans with A.J. Brown refused 4 years, $100 million, and now they're giving Calvin Ridley 4 year, $92 million. Like,
Makes no sense.
Okay, like what
but
is
a lot of that, too, is like they thought they didn't need to do it, and then they realized they messed up, and now they're overcorrecting and paying someone that you shouldn't. Like, the Falcons, I would think, thought, you know what, we don't have to give Lamar all that money. Maybe Desmond Ridder works out. And then he didn't work out. And now they're like, okay, now we messed up with Lamar. We need to go get a quarterback. And now they're paying Kirk Cousins way more than they should be paying Kirk Cousins because they already missed last year on Lamar Jackson.
We're talking about the most important position in all of sports. Why wouldn't the Bears just hold on to 2 quarterbacks? Like, why? Then wait.
That's financial.
No.
That's
no,
financial.
but then you wait until the season starts and all the quarterbacks start getting hurt, and then you trade him when someone really has a need for a quarterback.
You can't draft Caleb Williams and have Justin Fields sitting there on the sideline.
I just don't understand why that's the case. Why is that the case? It's the most important position where we saw last year how often they get hurt, quarterbacks. I just don't understand. Like a 6th round pick, I'd rather have a good backup quarterback than get a 6th round pick.
Yeah, but you're drafting Caleb Williams. Justin Fields.
You don't even know he'll be good.
I know, but when he's not good, the fans are going to start chanting for. You're creating a quarterback controversy that's not there if you keep Justin Fields and draft Caleb Williams.
I think Chris has a point, though. Like, it does seem like it would have made more sense at this point when all of these teams have probably passed since around the end of the season to the combine, et cetera, to wait at least until maybe the draft, at least till training camp. But I think the Bears front office didn't want to have the situation that Stugotz is describing, where you now have 2 guys that you've got, picked up in the first round on the same team, which seems like a little ridiculous. I don't know.
It's so great.
Probably could have gotten more out from a desperate team later on.
It's so great. It's a great way to lead. Fear the chance.
That's what I'm saying. Don't you sit Justin Fields down and say, hey, we're only getting offered a 6th round pick. You're owed more.
Stugotz, you tell me if you believe that my analysis here, because a lot of analysis that comes in the sports information field comes from people who do not see their blind spots, okay? When I tell you that I believe the audience is connecting here with me, not for reasons of self-involvement, but I believe that the audience is doing, we don't get consensus in sports about anything.
Right.
I think the audience is like, why was Justin Fields that cheap? Why is he allowed to go to Pittsburgh and be the backup? Why doesn't every team in the league want something like that as possible hope? And hey, if my quarterback gets hurt, it'd be pretty nice to see Justin Fields back there. And I'm taking a one-year flyer on him because I think the audience thinks like me. Hey, he showed me enough flashes that I don't think Zach Wilson can play. I'm not sure about Bryce Young. We've sped it up on all these guys. You got 3 years. Figure it out or get out. 3 years. Hurry up. Like, your value or you're not, get out. Like, I'm sitting there for 3 years on Tua, Stugotz.
Yeah.
For 3 years, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Do you pay it $50 million if you need to keep that guy whose house catches fire and whose personal life is, raging outside of your huddle and those are your two top paid guys. You're building around one who a year ago we were worried about his head, and the other one we're worried about his head.
It seems like you're asking Fields and Russell Wilson at $4.5 million or Tua at 55.
I'm not. I saw you doing that last week with the Golix. It enraged me that you're just going to this cheap sports radio trick, just this old hit of yours, which Russell. You want this is the part I think the audience is connecting with me on. I think we're all looking at Justin Fields and being like, well, if quarterback is hope and I can put someone on the field who's a better athlete than everyone else, I'd like that on my team as a second option. Chicago doesn't need that when all they've ever had at quarterback is Jay Cutler. That's the best they've ever done. So I'd understand Chicago would be pissed off today because they know what a quarterback doesn't look like for many, many years. And Justin Fields occasionally looked like he could be someone who could be their quarterback.
Yeah, but Chicago cannot get upset. They have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. They have what everyone says is a generational quarterback in Caleb Williams. They have to get that right. You don't want Justin Fields sitting around there. I actually like what the Bears did. They probably thought the market was better for Justin Fields. Clearly it was not.
But you can't like what the Bears did from this perspective, Stugotz. The trade can't be, if you're the Chicago Bears, we're going to trade a 1, a 1, and a 2 to get up to number 11 to get Justin Fields. And then 3 years later, we're going to trade him for a 6 and have nothing to show for it. That's bad management. That's bad management 101. That's not the way to do it in a salary cap sport. You have to figure out in those 3 years whether your trade has value and you are traded a depreciated asset that depreciated only because you stink at your job.
Dan, they did figure it out. With Justin Fields as their quarterback, they have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. I mean, they haven't been good with Justin Fields. So
it's Carolina's pick, but
I understand, but they move on to a generational quarterback in Caleb Williams, and you don't keep Justin Fields around. And from the Steelers standpoint,
no, you get more for him. It's not that you don't keep him around. You have to get more for him.
But Dan, clearly they couldn't get more. You're acting like you have 1 year of upside with Justin Fields, and then you have to figure out, do I have to pay him? What do I have to pay him? So you have 1 year to get it done with Justin Fields.
Is he a starting quarterback, yes or no?
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know.
I don't believe the audience thinks that. I don't believe that the audience saw him play, even though they lost, saw those throws to DJ Moore. You're bringing in Keenan Allen now.
Well, they're getting all the pieces that they didn't get for him now, right? So you don't really know what he is because he didn't have all of the weapons that Caleb Williams going to walk into the NFL having. But you also don't know that Caleb Williams is going to be the answer and that he's going to be the generational quarterback that you hope he is, right? But you also told everyone you're going to take him. So now everybody knows you don't need Justin Fields anymore, so you're going to get rid of him, which is why there wasn't a market for him because, to what Jess was saying before, at some point they're going to have to cut bait with him.
But that's
which
not
is why
doing
it's
it
just
well.
a 6.
They
did this to themselves. They did this to themselves.
We're talking about the Chicago Bears.
They completely did this to themselves. And even in Chris's hypothetical, right, which is, well, why don't you just keep both of them? You don't want to have that quarterback controversy. But also, you can't get much worse for him than a 6th rounder. So, what's the point of settling now for a 6th rounder? Because, during the season, if someone needs a quarterback, they're going to know, all I need is a 6th rounder for him. But you don't want to have the headache of having 2 quarterbacks, which now Pittsburgh kind of is going to have because they have kind of Russ, but they have him for 1 year. And then what are you going to do with Justin Fields? Is he the next guy? I don't know.
Yeah, but it's 2 cheap quarterbacks, both with something to prove. One has upside. Like, it's a great job by Mike Tomlin. To go from the quarterback room that he had last year to the quarterback room he has today,
no, it's a much better
fantastic.
quarterback room. Yeah.
Okay, and this is the take that everyone has today, and I am suspicious of the take that everyone agrees on because no one will disagree with Trubisky's out and Pickett's out and all those 3-yard passes when I know Pickens can play and I know that Harris is a good running back. They have some skill talent. I'm looking at their defense. It's elite. And so can they make a leap when it's not Mason Rudolph? And all of us are in agreement, all of us.
No.
Someone disagrees?
I tweeted this the other day, but they hired Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator. I can't remember him playing with a quarterback like Russell Wilson or really like Justin Fields. I don't know what their offense is even going to look like, but I do think Justin Fields is interesting because you have your run game that the Steelers have established pretty well the last couple of years with Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris. The offensive line's been playing a lot better, and they're probably going to get more pieces in the draft. And you have a quarterback like Justin Fields who's just like insanely creative and fast and athletic when he's playing his best. And the Bears, I don't think really understood how to use him, and the instability there was terrible, and the pieces around him were bad, and the offensive line was making him run for his life at times. So I'm interested by it, but I don't know if it's going to work, Dan. I really don't know if it's going to work. I know it'll probably be more interesting than what I watched last year, which was just 1 touchdown every 6 games.
But that's part of the trade that's being made here. Everyone's looking at it. Well, it'll be more interesting. Like, we're all agreeing with that part. It'll be more interesting.
It's for sure going to be good. I think a lot of people think like, oh, it'll be better. I don't know for sure. We'll find out.
Hot take, Russell Wilson was not happy about this. He went out publicly and was like, I'm supportive of this. I'm excited. Let's steal or whatever he said, right? Yeah. I think privately he let out a dang it like no one's business. Like he was upset about this situation.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Did Russell Wilson let out a dang it like
privately,
nobody,
privately.
like nobody?
Privately, yeah.
Can I finish, please? Okay. Like nobody's business. And I'm going to have to reprimand Jessica here, who, and I don't know for sure. We'll find out. Is the title of the world's lamest podcast.
Isn't that like David Sampson's whole thing,
Wait
though?
to see.
I mean, I
mock him too. Oh, my God, it's awful. Wait to see is one of the worst slogans in the history of words slung together.
In sports radio,
it's
for
terrible.
Sure. We don't wait and see.
Wait to see is one of the lamest catchphrases anyone has ever had. But I don't know for sure. We'll find out is actually fair commentary, but everywhere else around, I don't know for sure. We'll find out. Everyone has a very strong opinion, and a whole lot of people aren't saying Arthur Smith. That's confusing, but let's look at this for a second, just for a second. That is a very stable franchise. Mike Tomlin has done winning. None of us can totally understand, and yet might be on the hot seat because it's not about getting to the playoffs or even winning seasons. Can't be 9-7, 10-7,
losing the first round,
right. And we know Pickett. That quarterback room's not good enough. We all can see. You can't play like that and win. You might surprise us, but you can't keep having winning seasons that aren't a bit of a mirage.
Billy, I'm wondering, did Jalen Hurts do the same thing when he found out that Kenny Pickett was coming to the Eagles? Like,
no, you're missing the part of the joke. It's the darn it. The dang
privately.
It. Privately.
But Jalen wasn't happy. I'm reporting that.
I want to examine that this is a black coaching
staff. Why are you
staff.
Reporting that?
Upside Pickett. I mean, you don't want Pickett hanging around your team.
I just think some of this commentary is just so lame, Stugotz. We're afraid of a chant and quarterback controversy in this sport. That's what leadership is. I can't have 2 quarterbacks. I'm afraid of a chanting fan base. I'm a total coward. I'm Mike Tomlin. I'm scared. I have to be scared. I don't blink. I'm talking every week about we just need to get out of the stadium alive. I'm afraid that my fans are going to chant something.
It's why it's the perfect landing spot. Tomlin doesn't care if the fans chant for Fields. Mike Tomlin's going to do what Mike Tomlin wants to do.
I'm simply telling you when it comes to the analysis, Stugotz, of that position, and me hearing consensus of everyone thinks the Steelers did the right thing. And the meekest you can say is, I don't know, it might not work out, but it seems like a better quarterback room, obviously. And I want to just go back to the beginning of what we were saying. How is it that we don't know how to evaluate the position better than this? That the league can't assign values to these people that aren't this confusing? Because you've already wiped out the running back market, and I think that position's about to change. Like we saw Lamar Jackson without an agent, Stugotz. Atlanta did not want him. He's the MVP of the league. Deshaun Watson is a disaster. He's 25% of their salary cap, and because they're cowards, they won't bring back Flacco because they don't want the chanting.
Well, they got Jameis, though, so they want they're inviting the chanting. When you bring in Jameis, you're
not inviting the same kind of chant.
There's never been a Jameis chant.
Not the same chant.
I chant it every Sunday.
I can't believe Cleveland got rid of Flacco, and they're like, it didn't fit.
I feel like what's hard, though, is that the evaluation includes every team's individual situation as well as the quarterback's deal and how much time is left on it and how much money they have. And those things are individualized to each team. So it is hard to compare and contrast apples to apples, what every team wants and what every team can get out of a franchise. And that's how the Bears end up in this position where they know that they want to get rid of Justin Fields. They don't want to have 2 first-round pick quarterbacks in the locker room come draft night. And so everyone else knows they're going to do that, and they've got to dump him off where they can find they have said, and I don't know if this is true, but they have said they wanted to put him in a good position, and they don't want him to go to a team where there's already a starting quarterback like, for example, the Eagles, where Jalen Hurts is obviously the starter there, and B, somewhere that is going to give them something, and so they got a conditional 6th-round pick out of it.
Dan, just so we're clear, are you surprised teams like the Cowboys didn't go after Justin Fields? Like if Dak gets hurt, doesn't work out?
They have Trey Lance.
Stugotz, it's not surprise. This is what I'm just saying to you again and again. Trey Lance, thank you for mentioning him, okay? The 2021 draft now. You told me Zach Wilson was good at quarterback. Trey Lance, good at quarterback. Mac Jones, good at quarterback. Justin Fields, good at quarterback.
Do we know Trey Lance is good at quarterback?
No, I'm saying that the 2021 draft, look at what it did at quarterback. Nobody knows shit. Nobody knows anything. Nobody. You told me all those quarterbacks were good.
Now, in fairness, Jess said, we'll see how this plays
yes,
out.
It's the only right take. I don't know for sure. We'll find out.
The Chiefs know something.
Here's another place, Stugotz, that this football evaluation shit gets confusing at this position. I know Justin Herbert's good. I know it.
Do you?
I know Justin Herbert is good. Huh. I've been watching football all my life.
Right.
I know he can play that position. Now you're going to tell me the Chargers have been so mismanaged for a couple of years that they make me not only doubt whether he's good, but now Mike Williams you get rid of. And Keenan Allen you get rid of. And I read a report the other day that right before that where they're like, Chargers have to make a decision between Keenan Allen, Khalil Mack, Bosa, and they already got rid of Eckler. I'm like, okay, that window closed. That offense was going to be good for a long time. They burned up those bodies, burned up those expenses. The only reason you wouldn't get Keenan Allen is because you're afraid of all the mileage the Chargers have used on him.
Right. But now the Bears have him. And I'll tell you this, Dan, the Bears, if they draft a wide receiver at 9 with Caleb Williams, with that defense, with what they already have, I am telling you, watch out for the Bears. I'm telling you, NFC Championship game.
There it is.
It's the Bears.
There it
I'm
is.
sorry.
I'm not going to wait and see. The Bears are going to be good.
There it is.
The Bears are the Bears.
There it is.
Yeah. Different Bears. I mean, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, plus you draft a wide receiver at 9. Great defense. Hopefully the quarterback is great.
It's just going to be 10 wide receivers and Caleb Williams.
I was having this conversation with a Bears fan over the weekend, and they were like, well, at least it seems like the Bears have a plan. Yeah. And I was like,
they do.
Does it seem that way? Because I remember when the season ended, they waited to do their end of season interviews because no one was sure who they were going to fire yet for a few days. Maybe I'm misremembering, but if I recall, they were not sure if they were going to keep Getsy and Eberflus or keep Eberflus and get rid of Getsy, which is what they ended up doing. And there was a lot of confusion for a few days, not to mention all of the shit show happening the rest of the season with coaches being dismissed for all these sorts of issues that we haven't even really found out what that was yet. Just a weird dysfunctional football team, and not one that I would want to be drafted to.
I heard something over the weekend, Stugotz. She just made me think of this when she talked about coaching turnover, that only in the 1 out of 5 coaches in football are still with their college team since 2019. You don't last. College football is now just sort of churning through these coaches very quickly because we've sped up, right, the economies around both NIL and the quarterback positions where you're going to have to be able to do your job faster because now if I lock in costs at the quarterback position and I show you the greatest advantage in the sport is that you have the ability to build the rest of your team because your quarterback's cheap.
Right.
And you figure it out early and you don't have to pay him for a few years and you can pay Deebo Samuel and you can pay Kittle and you can pay, how do they have all those players? How does Russell Wilson play on a team that falls apart as a champion the moment they couldn't pay all the defensive players? But salary cap is greater than it's ever been. We're more interested in the finances of all of this than we ever have been. And the Chargers just blew the early Justin Herbert window. Because it's not
early window.
It's not that easy to get. It's not that easy to get Keenan Allen.
But they still have hope for the late window. I mean,
they do.
At least we know Jim Harbaugh is taking this move very seriously because he had a garage sale over the weekend.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Saw some pictures. Look, that's a garage sale I would go to. Yeah. He had so many snow globes. Yeah. We counted what, Billy?
At least 17. In this one picture, there's 17 snow globes.
Okay, is Jim Harbaugh indeed living in an RV outside of the facility all summer because he doesn't want to buy a home? Is that a true thing? Because he said it. I heard him say it, but I did not know whether indeed he had gone through with it. And now you're telling me he's trying to sell a bunch of items?
And it looks like a bunch of good stuff. I see a lava lamp in there. There's some quality stuff here. Yeah. Billy pointed out earlier there's a prom, wedding sort of
it's
dress
not. I don't think it's Mrs. Harbaugh's wedding dress, but there is a very elegant looking white dress with I don't want to say lace, but this is a very formal dress that I doubt that Mrs. Harbaugh is selling the wedding dress, but it's possible.
Dan, you know what? I'm happy because for years, Bud Grant did garage sales. He did it every single year. And we, fell in love with Bud Grant, and he was fantastic. And if there's a coach to kind of take the torch from Bud Grant, who passed away, to do a garage sale on an annual basis, it is Jim Harbaugh.
I would love to rekindle our relationship with all of the crazy Harbaughs now that he has fled with maximum grace from the burning fires of cheating scandal to national championship to Kingmaker, who will reinvent Justin Herbert and is giving all the quotes about being awed by being in the presence of this Thor-like creature at quarterback who's a stallion, who's J.J. McCarthy on steroids. He's
another stallion.
A flowing hair of Wolverine. And he will build around that. But does he indeed live still in the RV? Do we know this?
I mean, I could see him parking an RV outside of his mansion and staying in the RV there. I don't think that you're going to find Jim Harbaugh at a campsite.
He's stealing Baker Mayfield's bit. Didn't Baker Mayfield do this in Cleveland, or was it Gardner Minshew?
It was Gardner Minshew. Yeah, it was Minshew.
I feel like I remember an episode of Hard Knocks with a quarterback in an RV.
No, there was a Dolphin player. I don't remember who it was.
It's been
Was
done.
it Seiler?
Yes.
Get a new bit. Get your own bit.
I have a friend that lives in a van. It's not accurate to what it sounds. His van is nicer than my apartment.
What?
Yeah, he was like, I don't want to pay rent anymore, so he spent a crap ton of money renovating like a van into a nice apartment, and he lives in San Diego, so he just parks and sleeps at the beach every night.
John Oliver did a bit, enraged me with jealousy recently.
That's a man who's never been camping.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Fair to assess that John Oliver has never been camping. John Oliver offered, and I think it's probably expired by now, Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice, who loves to just be corrupt, and is great at it, and now terrible at it because he's getting caught like he was just being bought by billionaires.
It's fun, Dan.
He loves, scamming is fun. I know, Stugotz. Even when democracy's at stake. I know. Scamming's fun. Even
right up until it isn't.
It's all great fun until a Supreme Court justice is obviously corrupt but loves traveling the world in fancy RVs. John Oliver has offered him a $2-point-something million RV in exchange for him just resigning his seat on the Supreme Court. And it's funny, and it's legal, and it's amazing. And I believe that if that RV is indeed what Lucy is saying it might be, that we might have the J.J. Watt cabin of falsehoods again, where this isn't an RV the way you think of an RV. This is a $2 million rolling home of fire that parties at every disco that Jim Harbaugh would go around to listen, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
This is how I imagine the tent you said you're staying in Africa. It's not really like a camping tent.
It's a 5-star tent. I mean,
regardless, I still think it's interesting. But Stugotz brought up something with the late Bud Grant, and we do need to pass this along.
Yes.
One of the most uncomfortable moments in show history. I don't know how we were able to wrestle this away from ESPN. I don't know why they wouldn't have wanted this sound forever for their Disney archives. But it's when Stugotz asked Bud Grant at like the 7th one of these garage sales that we had covered.
Right.
Stugotz, you guys don't know this story. Lucy and Jessica aren't going to know this story. Okay. Oh, great. I'm going to have to explain this now.
Prepare to be horrified.
Yeah, I mean.
And if my memory serves me right, you actually try to ask, and then he has to follow up, and then Stugotz comes in.
Dan was embarrassed to ask. I had to just ask the question.
Let me set it up.
Better or worse than Vince Wilfork?
I think this might be. So
more uncomfortable.
Here, let's see. We'll leave it up to the perusal of the ladies to see if they're as horrified by this as I think they're going to be when I have to explain this to them. Because you guys are like, it'll be easy. But there was a reason I didn't want to ask Bud Grant this question. He's the legendary Vikings coach. And we, for some reason, have stumbled upon the idea that when it comes to men and wiping, we have discovered, to our shock, sitters have discovered that standards exist, and standards have discovered that sitters exist while wiping.
Yeah.
And so we asked the question of the legendary Vikings coach while at a garage sale. But I was too scared to ask it because he's a legendary tough guy, and Stugotz just barreled in.
And in our defense, we asked a lot of people this question that week.
Yeah. Just an awkward and delicate question here that we've been talking about all day, and I understand it's probably not appropriate, but I am curious, and we've been doing it with all our guests here. When going to the bathroom, Bud Grant, and finishing with his bathroom experience, the wiping experience, sitting or standing?
Repeat that. I didn't get the gist of that.
Please don't make me repeat that.
You want me to try?
Yeah, you try
Okay.
it.
Bud, when after you have dinner tonight and you celebrate the garage sale, when you go to the bathroom afterwards, not one but two, Bud, will you sit or stand when you wipe?
Well, that depends on the consistency of what I'm doing.
Thank you, Bud.
Why was he so honest?
Well thought out answer.
Weird Disney didn't want that.
I miss Bud.
We need a new garage sale person. We need to find. I want to get into some things, Stugotz. I just learned the other day that the Sopranos boat that you're named after, the Stugotz, is for sale. Like, it's available. I want to start doing some of these things that we dreamed of 3 years ago.
You want to buy me a boat?
I want to. Well, I want the Stugotz to be. I want to have ideas that involve going and doing a live remote from Bud Grant's garage sale because we've made a deal with Jim Harbaugh to cover the Chargers next season, and sponsor the area outside his RV. I'd like to do some more creative things there. Can you help me with this?
Absolutely. I would love, because we had Jim Harbaugh on the show. It turned into a weekly thing, and then it quickly went away.
It wasn't a weekly thing. It was Jim Harbaugh was on once and then
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It looked like it was going to be a weekly thing, like we had a good relationship with Harbs. But I'm telling you, Jim Harbaugh would rather you cover his garage sale than cover his football team. And so, Dan, if we went out there and made the effort, if this is an annual thing.
Well, we should send Lucy.
Okay, fine.
We should send Lucy. We should do that immediately.
Yes, he would appreciate it, and we would get him back in our good graces.
We should buy some things from him there. We should do a report from there.
Yeah, it's definitely over. Garage sale is usually like a one-day thing, but I love the idea you guys have.
So we missed it. So we got scooped on it.
Reddit got it first. What are you gonna do?
Buds was a weekend event. It was. And he did it every single year.
His was annual, but he took donations and he
Right.
had lots of memorabilia and stuff like that. It was a whole thing in the community up there. By the way, if you want to buy this boat, Dan, we could do that today, but it's $300,000. So
I'd like to know more about the boat, the Stugotz.
it's $300,000. I think that's where can I just say I don't decide this. Don't buy this boat.
Why not?
It's $300,000. Don't buy this boat.